she has requested to.
Ay, 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 ay. Okay, everybody sing it. Ay, 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 ay,
One of my favorite family reunions was the one when we did the Olympics, and we went to Point Defiance Park, and they had a stage show, and this lady singer and her friend needed a volunteer from the audience, and everyone pointed to Grandpa to go up on the stage, and there I sang with this lady, and I don't remember the other words to the song, so you can all sing it with me.
And what was the lady's name?
Tia.
Tia.
Exclamation.
Tia. That's right, good thinking.
Just scared part of today.
How many of the kids that are here remember it? Good.
Hey, great.
Nope.
Do you remember any of the song?
Your turn.
I think she's saying like
I remember the tune, not the
Papa
song.
sits at some table.
Do, 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 do.
It's kind of a Jewish.
Yeah, and she's saying about Grumpy's eyes because we all thought she was in love with you.
I like basic and Polynesian, Polynesian, yeah.
Oh, Possigan,
Yeah.
Phyllis?
Yeah.
This is a friend of mine from high school, and his name was Possigan Phillinson, and he was a real nice guy, and he and I did a lot of things together and had a lot of fun. But he had a very unusual name, and yet it's the only Possigan I've ever met in my whole life.
I think there's one on
Did
Pete's
he go
Drink.
by his full name or just a nickname?
Isn't there something else?
His name was Gar.
No, then Carl.
Maybe that's the name of the town or something like that. Passamaquoddy.
They still do?
I didn't know that.
They still do.
That's funny.
Okay, what is this about?
His real name is Garth. Everyone called him Possigan.
They call him Posse.
Thank you very much.
Wait, his real name was Gabriel. They called him Possigan.
My friend and cousin's dad was in the mining business, and so he had access to dynamite and dynamite caps. And on the 4th of July, it's always tradition that we have a big boom of fireworks. And we thought, why don't we have some dynamite to wake the whole town? And so we went over to Oak City, and their swimming pool, the city swimming pool, had been shut down and was empty. We thought that would make a great echo chamber. And so we thought we'd put the dynamite in the bottom, light it, and everyone would take off. And I went to leave, and the gate was closed because I was going to go out. Everybody else went out the other gate. And so I just hid in their little shower room, which was right next to the pool. In about 3 minutes, the biggest explosion I've ever heard in my whole life went off. My ears were ringing for a couple of days, but we didn't know it. But the swimming pool was right next to a house, and just across the fence there were 2 or 3 kids sleeping outside on the cot. And their cots tipped over and woke them up. So there was a great mystery on who it was that had the 4th of July celebration at midnight.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure we can.
Yep, we did use that.
It didn't blow the concrete.
Held out.
We had a field that had some stumps in it, and we had to blow the stumps out because we didn't have any other way to get them out. So we thought, well, if one stick would do it, maybe 2 or 3 under the stump would even do it bigger and better. So we lit the fuse, everybody ran back, and we were watching for this little stump to tip over, and it went shot up in the air, turned around, and then came back down. It was kind of like a moonshot.
And tell us where it was.
North Pole, Alaska. is the town
You
that we had
have
our
to,
little
Dad,
farm at.
just for my memory, one of the times you told the story, you did the kaboom. A
The
baboon. The baboon. Baboon.
Whoop.
You have to do it. So do the sound
Okay, we
effects.
were all waiting around, and as the dynamite exploded, kaboom!
So how about a follow-up dynamite story? What about throwing dynamite from the car?
Okay, we thought, you know, we'd all throw firecrackers out the window, you know. We thought, hey, we've got an idea. And so we got some dynamite, and we were in this old Plymouth car, and Barton Shipley was driving, and I was sitting in the middle, and Leland was in by the door in the front seat. And so we would light them, throw them out. Everything was going fine, and we lit this one fuse, and the fuse was about 12 inches, and we threw it, and it hit the little side window and bounced and rolled underneath the seat. And so the smoke is coming up, and we're all digging around trying to find this thing that was underneath the seat. Finally we found it, chucked it out just in time, and we looked up, and we were still going 50 miles an hour, and the road was no place in view. And we're just going out through the sagebrush.
Oh my goodness.
Now, do you want to give him a disclaimer about that?
Preston wanted to know if the.
Yeah, don't try any of that on your own unless you
You're
have
what they call
supervision and
experts.
training.
Yeah, they're qualified
Yeah,
by
yeah.
living in a
Preston
rural
asked if the
community.
swimming pool was damaged when
No.
they blew up this.
No, no damage done.
No, I gotta go.
Just sound.
Caribou.
Pardon?
Caribou.
We had a friend in our branch in Fairbanks named Whitfield, and he flew a little private plane that was a Stinson station wagon. That's kind of a special plane that they used up there, single engine, and he had skis on it. He asked if I wanted to go caribou hunting with them one time. I said, sure, you bet. So we went out to the airport and we took off, and as we took off, I noticed down below there was a whole bunch of churned area in the snow where you could see the brown earth, and there was two big giant bull moose fighting away, just two good fighting, and that was a great sight. Then we flew south about an hour and went to a lake, and we thought, well, with the snow skis, you can land on the lake pretty easy. And then we noticed strings of caribou that were going across the lake. And we thought, we'll just land and see if we can get a caribou. So we landed the plane, and they kind of scattered, and they were a long, long ways away. And so we thought, well, his younger son, who was a little younger than I, took a shot, and then I took a shot, and then the caribou all ran away, and we noticed that there was one caribou laying on the ice. We thought, wow, that's good. So we taxied the airplane over, and sure enough, we'd got a caribou. And the dad said, yep, that was a good one. Young Leonard had got his first caribou, and so we loaded it in the plane and took it home, and had a nice thing. And they gave us the heart to fry up, which your grandma cooked and enjoyed probably. But as I was cutting it up, I noticed that there was a bullet that was lodged right in the heart of the caribou, and I took it out, and it was the slug from my rifle. So the boy got the credit, but I had the evidence. And that was a wonderful, wonderful trip. And we flew home, and we got home late at night. It was great. Any other stories?
Yeah, Ian's got-
Seaweed. Oh,
cabbage.
Cabbage? We thought we'd farm some cabbage and potatoes and carrots, and so we thought we've got to figure out a way to plant all these little plants that we had flown in from Seattle.
Start
And
first and tell them what happened to the carrots and potatoes before.
we had 30,000 sets. That's each little plant. And so we rigged up a little planter, and Blair and I would sit on the thing, and your grandma would drive the tractor. Even though she was expecting before, she would drive this little Caterpillar, and we would plant all these cabbages. They grew and they grew, and they were just doing so well. And then we noticed there were a lot of hoof prints in the patch where the moose would come down and have a wonderful meal on our cabbage plants. And then one day a hailstorm came through, and we had big hails that just covered the whole ground. And we went down and looked at the cabbage field, and all of the leaves were just chewed up into little tiny pieces. And we had a field of coleslaw. Salad. And we didn't have any cabbages that made it to maturity.
But we had good cabbage-fed moose.
Take one and go by
Preston?
It looks like. Oh, a movie theater people with 3D glasses.
When I was a teenager, there was a new thing that came out called 3D movies. And I thought it was so exciting that we went down, and it was a Western movie, and we were in the lobby. We put on our glasses like this, and we started to go down the aisle to find our seats. And so I'm going down the aisle, and then I look up, and there is a bunch of Indians, and one of those Indians pointed his arrow right at the camera and shot, and this arrow started coming, and so I dropped to my knees and went like this, so that I wouldn't get stuck by this arrow that came sailing by. But it was really third dimension.
What year was this?
1954.
Oh, movie? What's that?
That's the 3D movie.
Ah,
Is that Preston?
okay.
Yep.
So next is
Dallin.
Okay. My picture is the bear. The bear right there.
There's a bear on there.
Oh, I know this one.
When we were in Alaska, before we were married, I went to work for the Forest Service fighting fires. And so we'd wait in town and until a fire was started by lightning, and then they would fly us out and land us on a sandbar on the river, and then a helicopter would pick us up and take us into the fire, and drop us off, and we'd fight the fire. And as about the second day, I noticed that up on the mountainside, it looked like two sheets of aluminum. They were really bright, and they glistened in the sun, and I thought, I wonder what that could possibly be. And then I noticed that they moved. They were moving around, and it must be a bear. And so I watched them, and as they come down the mountain, I knew that they were headed for the water. And the next morning, the helicopter came to take us back to the camp. And so I walked over to the pilot, who was standing around the campfire, and I said, if you'll take me out first, I'll show you something that's really neat. And he said, okay. So we got in the helicopter, and I said, just fly over this little ridge right over here. And so we flew over the ridge, and there was a silver-tipped grizzly.
Oh,
Now, a silver-tipped grizzly has the little tips on their hair gets white, and it was kind of shiny, just like an aluminum sheet, and a year-old cub. And so this helicopter came over, and he kind of dipped down and went right over the bear, and the mother bear took her one paw and tucked the yearling cub behind it, and then she stood up like this and went at the helicopter, and both the lifted our feet up because we didn't want to get hit by this bear. It was quite a sight to see.
Wait, were you like in the co-pilot or were you like
No, I was just a passenger. But it was one of those bubble ones that was all glass, that you could sit down and off to the side.
Oh.
and his mouth went like this. And I knew it was Rory, but I couldn't hear it.
Oh, soundproof?
Yeah.
So Sarah, your name?
I was the one with the guy holding the trophy.
Down here, this little
In the middle, second.
chubby guy.
Jen?
Gone.
While I was in high school, we had the honor of being the state wrestling champion, and I had taken state for 2 years in a row, junior and senior year in high school. But I wanted to tell you a story that I haven't told only once. I went to BYU on a wrestling scholarship, and the big match of the year was when the University of Utah comes down, and they happen to have it right after a BYU basketball game. So the basketball game was there with a great big crowd, and then a lot of the crowd stayed. It was the biggest crowd that I've ever seen at a wrestling match. And I was the first one to go out because they always take the little weights first. And so I went out, and the guy that I was to wrestle, I had seen in the high school championships. He was Oriental, tough, fast, great record that he had in the state, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be tough. So he went out, and the referee brought us together, and they always check your nails, make sure that you're not, don't have long fingernails and stuff. And then he says little rules. And then as I'm standing close to this guy, I could smell his breath, and he had been smoking. I said, this guy smokes. Well, I can beat somebody that smokes. So he says, go to your corners, and they come back. And we came out there, and we wrestled around, and I took him down and put him in a figure four, and rolled him over and pinned him. Just in the first minute. And the crowd went wild, and it made me feel pretty good to be able to do that. But the reason it was is because I knew that I had the advantage, because he was a smoker. And I'd been taught that that's not the best thing to do. So that was a great story.
What weight class did you wrestle in high school and college?
119 in college, and 103 in high school. Wow.
119 in college.
Yeah, that's a trophy.
I know an anorexic person who was 46 and was 57.
He was short too.
Oh.
Not that short.
He wasn't as tall as he is now,
Yeah,
because
he
then he
was-
grew
I went,
afterwards,
yeah.
he grew after high school.
Well, the only trophy I won,
Like a lot.
because I wasn't very big.
You won medals.
Yeah, we get the gold medals when you take state championship. I also wrestled in the AAU division championship in Salt Lake City, and I took the Western Regional AAU championship when I was a freshman in college. That was in addition to my collegiate career.
Sarah
just went.
Oh,
What's that?
Andrew.
I have Alaska or bust. Truck.
The truck.
Upper right.
When I was a sophomore in college, we ran out of money, and in order to earn a lot of money, we thought the best place to earn big money was in Alaska. So my cousin and I knew some people who were going up in a pickup truck, and we said, any chance that we could go up with you? And they said, yes, but you have to ride in the back.
That'd be fun.
And so it was March semester, so it was pretty warm in Provo in March, but by the time we got to the Canadian border, it was getting pretty cold. And we had a little cover over it. It was kind of homemade, and so he and I just rolled out our sleeping bags and stayed in the sleeping bags for 5 days and 5 nights. We drove day and night, and we got to Fairbanks. I think he had $3 and I had $4.50. And we thought, well, what are we going to do? We thought we'd go buy some dinner. A bowl of chili, I think, was $2. So we each had a bowl of chili, and and then went to church and talked to the priesthood leadership, and they helped us find a little family that took us in and took care of us. That's Monty Merrill and his wife Eunice,
Really?
who was in the Air Force up there. So we were pretty lucky. So if you ever get in trouble, you just locate the church, and you always have a friend that'll help you out when you're in trouble.
I have the BYU and the Cougar.
Okay, does anybody remember a story about that?
No.
You went to
When we
BYU.
went to BYU, I went in a Model A Ford because I bought that instead of a bus ticket. And the Model A was the only car on campus that could drive all the sidewalks between heritage halls. Go off all of those sidewalks because the tires were so narrow.
Wow.
So we had a lot of fun doing that.
Did you ever help clean the Y? Did they clean the Y or paint the Y, or
First
how did
year, we went up and we whitewashed it and had a good day project. And, they had little beanies for the freshmen to wear that had a Y on the front, so we had to wear our little beanies. And the freshmen,
How'd they do that? How'd they get
it's a
everything
bucket
up there?
brigade, and they take a bucket of whitewash and take it, do a brigade up the mountain, and then they'd take brooms and painted it on with brooms.
Wow.
We had a good time.
So, is the water like in the ground or is it?
Well, it's big rocks about this big that are kind of sitting together, and they're just held in place by gravity, and none of them roll down. But you'll have to go up and check it out someday when you have the free.
Make sure you know how to get there now. I tried.
Who's next?
First kiss with grandma.
First kiss.
Grandma.
I've heard that Blair's little sister was coming to Fairbanks to help take care of his wife Ellen's children while she had a new baby. The baby was going to come early, so they asked me to take care of the kids while she went to the hospital and had the baby. And Joan's airplane wasn't going to come in until the next day or something. Anyway, she arrived and was told the next morning to fix breakfast for me and Blair and I think somebody else.
The kid.
And the kids. And so she went in and she fixed this big tray of bacon and eggs and toast. And I was sitting there, she stared, and the plate just kind of tipped forward a little bit. And all the breakfast went right on the floor. Nobody paid any attention. But she was pretty captivated.
Who's making that
Now
up?
you want the I will tell you that the first time he tried to kiss him, I told him, this is not the time nor the place. And so after that, every time we were together, he'd say, is this the time or the place? And I would say, it's the time, but it's not the right place. Or it's the place, but it's not the right time.
7:45.
So we played games for a while before.
So where was the wrong place and the wrong time the first time?
He was standing over the heater next to the refrigerator in Blair and Ellen's kitchen.
And what was I wearing? The blue t-shirt.
Sounds like great time and place.
Yeah.
But it was our first kiss was my first kiss with the girl. And it was so sweet. It was really sweet.
Just let the women.
was that?
Pause.
Was it first kiss with someone with like just how do you say
That's
that?
right.
Joan, not two words anyway. Like an M. Jean or
So
a
I asked her to
Meredith
go out
or
on
a
a date.
yeah, like a one.
After she agreed to go out
Yeah.
on a date, we were going to go to dinner. Why, the only vehicle we had was the old logging truck. And it was a 2-ton logging truck, and it had no floorboards in the bottom of it. It was pretty rattle-trapped. So as we drove along, but you could see the road going by underneath your feet.
I remember there in
It
Alaska.
was
Added to
pretty
the air
romantic.
romance.
Pretty romantic times. We had some good times.
Some critters in that thing. You gotta probably check it for critters.
Who's next?
I'm the oldest.
Any other stories?
Oh yeah, we got lots of
Justine?
stories.
Justin, so?
Okay. Oh, big boy.
Christy,
I'm the
so?
oldest cousin.
Oh, big boy.
I knew. I was teasing.
Do the Adventures of Tippy.
The Adventures of Tippy.
No, tell them the funny one. It's the Adventures of Tippy. The rattlesnake and the pitchfork. I know, that's what I want. What?
Tippy.
Not that one. We're gonna do.
Tippy was an
Oh,
imaginary
whoa!
friend that was a hero.
I thought it was a
And,
dog.
I don't know how many times he
Yes.
saved the life of his master from running in the front of a car or pulled him out of he fell through ice in the pond or something. Tippy was a great hero, and your mom and dad heard a lot about him as I sang them to sleep at night in their beds. They'd hear this song about Tippy, and so if any of you can remember it, you can feel free to sing it at this time. Debbie, Scott.
I remember 2
Tippy,
words.
oh Tippy, Tippy, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
How old are you?
My friend.
Snake in the pitchfork.
When I was in high school, we thought it'd be fun to go down to the river and try and catch some fish with our pitchforks. And and so we found some, and the water isn't very deep. So as they swam upstream, why they would leave V-shaped wake behind them. And so we'd run up the bank and try to head them off and get a chance to catch a fish. So I'm running along this clay bank at full speed, and then I happen to look down, and there's a big giant rattlesnake laying right in the path. And I didn't have time to stop, I didn't have time to turn, anything. So I took my pitchfork and went like this and just pole vaulted over the top of him and took my pitchfork like this, looked around, and I looked around. I couldn't find the snake, it was missing, it was gone. And then I heard this rattle, and I looked on the tines of my pitchfork hanging right here, and there was the snake hanging from my pitchfork, right by my ear.
Was it dead?
So, no, he was still wiggling.
Or did you get fish?
Later on we did. But we did go home with this trophy, a large rattlesnake.
Wow.
So, did it die?
We killed it.
It did die. It was killed.
I think it was the force of my scream that shattered it. When I screamed, the snake.
Right. Did you
Wasn't like a
it?
girl.
Both screamed at the same time.
But we did skin it, and we took the skin and we could wrap it around our handlebars like this. So you'd have a snake skin handlebars on your bicycle.
Okay, we need to change discs real quick.
Do what?
Change the discs.
TV timeout.
Who's
Okay.
We'll be right back after these messages.
I missed that.
Stop. Can you tell that again?
tell that one again.
That just
Oh.
They just asked me to tell it again.
Yeah.
We used to go to the rabbit hunting all the time, and a real white clay knoll hill, and we would lay down and go spread eagle and pretend like we were dead until the turkey buzzards would start to come and circle around us. And as they got closer and closer and closer, then we would say, now. And we'd grab our 22s and go bang, bang. I got one. I did kill a turkey buzzard.
Okay, who's next? Who's got the next?
Yeah,
one?
we all got to spin around too, so
Here's a moose,
we were facing this way.
and the old timers told us that one of the ways that you can call a moose to you is to take a stick and run it up and down a tree, because that makes the same sound as a moose when it's sharpening its antlers. And so your mom and I was ready to go to bed one night, and we looked up, and still kind of dusk, and right in the middle of the road was this big, beautiful bull moose. And so watched it for a while, and then it went off in the woods, and then I got to thinking, I wonder if that's true, what the old timers say. So I was in my pajamas, and so I went out, about 100 yards from the cabin, found a stick, and just raked it up and down, up and down, up and down, nothing. Up and down, nothing. I thought, well, so much for that whole thing. Turned around, and looking at me down like this was a big bull moose right behind me. And this 1,800-pound animal had sneaked up right behind me, and I hadn't heard not a twig break or nothing. And boy, I got out of there quick. That was my moose calling experience.
Tell them about the moose chasing us in the car.
One time we came around a bend. There's a moose in the middle of the road, and said I'd like to get a picture. So I put my camera up, and said, the moose seems to be getting bigger. And it was running right down the yellow line, right towards our car. And your mom, grandma said, get it in reverse, reverse. So I put the car in reverse and started to back up, and gave it a little gas, and was able to. And then the moose turned and went into the woods right about where our car was parked. But we were charged by a moose.
We were in a Volkswagen minibus,
Nice.
so we were right in the front. looking at it.
Who else has a story?
It's called a slug bug.
Kyle, did you have one?
Like a does that mean like skippy called?
Kyle had the temple.
Okay, let's see. Any other? Kyle?
Any others? Oh, I got one.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no.
The garage.
The red house.
The garage?
Kyle had the temple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do
We'll
the
do the
garage.
temple last, okay?
Here, can I see it? My turn. Hallelujah! Let's just do the temple first.
Who's gonna do it last?
Our neighbor had some remodeling done on the garage,
No, Preston, no.
and the work had been done, and never painted. And they waited, and they waited, and never been painted. Well, we had some extra paint left over because our painter had painted the roof of the Red Lion Inn down by the airport, a light purple paint. It was neat. And, so I was coming home and I thought, I wonder what if. And so I took out a little drop cloth and got a ladder, and I painted the end of his garage purple. Cleaned up and put the stuff in the truck.
This was while we were teenagers.
Yeah. It's that house
And
where you
the
turn
people
right,
that
go
were
down,
there.
and then you turn left, go to Brown Breakfast House. The house on
So
the
Ed,
No, wasn't Joseph.
Ed Miner came home, and he looked at that, and he could not believe it, and he flipped out. He thought that he'd been vandalized. So he went around the neighborhood and checked every door and said, did anybody see anyone in the neighborhood? And a couple of people, yeah, I saw a teenager with dark hair. So he tried to catch the guy who'd done this. Well, in a few days I went over to the barber shop to get a haircut, and here was a little notice posted on the bulletin board at the barber shop. It says $100 reward for the arrest and conviction of the person who painted my garage purple. And had his phone number and Ed Miner. So I thought, Dave, that's something. And I asked the barber if I could have have that card. He said, sure, take it. And so I went home and I got some paint and a feather and made a little quill pen, and I wrote, I am watching you. I may strike again. The purple phantom. Folded it up and went and put it on his windshield. He came out then. He was furious. He was really angry. He told his wife if he ever catches that guy, he's going to skin him alive. And one day she came to our door, or his wife did, and Joan, you can tell her what she said.
She told me he had called the sheriff, and they had posted it, and the sheriff laughed at him and thought it was pretty funny, and he had called a painter, and the painter had laughed at him because it was good paint. It was done, and it was done very, very well. And she said he was going absolutely crazy because he could not figure out who did it. And then she looked at me and said, it's Roger, isn't it? And I started to laugh, and she said, don't worry, I won't tell. So he continued his notes for, what, another week?
Anyway.
And did you ever find out?
His wife said that it's the only time anybody had ever pulled a practical joke on her husband and gotten away with
He
it.
got you back. Didn't he get
So-
you back?
Did what?
He got you back though. With the
Well,
shack.
what did he do?
Didn't he paint your shack, the builder's shack?
Oh, but that was the painter did that. But Ed Miner, I don't know or how that was ever resolved. I don't know.
You never found
But
out?
yes, I came to work one morning, and our shack was purple. The whole thing.
That is how Ed finally figured out.
How long did it take you to?
Who's next?
Me. Temple.
I think we have the casket.
What have you got?
Does somebody have a casket?
Okay, we have a casket up.
What have you got?
Wait, what?
Ian?
I work for the Ball and Dodd Funeral Home in Cheney, Washington. And so I had to work around all these caskets that were in there. And so I would work and I would lay my plane and my square and my pencil on this casket, use it kind of like a little workbench, you know. And one day I said, or the next day I said, I think maybe I could make caskets part-time and make some extra money and do it on weekends, and these shouldn't be too hard to make. So I've got to see how they're made inside. So I clicked the latch, threw up the lid, and looked in there, and there's a guy. Been there for 2 days. And I've got my tool sitting right on top of him. And I, excuse me. The main use of the funeral home was crematorium. And so when the guy came out, he needed a little help. Why I helped cremate 2 or 3 bodies. So that was an interesting experience all in itself that I could tell you about later.
Hello, neighborhood. Hello, neighborhood.
Hello, neighbor.
Quick break.
Okay, just one.
Okay, I'm texting.
I didn't play the invitation.
very nice a card from the Bennett's.
That's just to represent the we're big spenders.
In my name, they donated $50 to the clean water for the humanitarian program at the church. So somebody's going to get a little gift of clean water from them on my birthday.
Huh?
Thank you.
It's not like that Seinfeld thing, is it?
Did you win fun?
Happy
I don't know. I wanted to point out this one map up here, and it has an insert of a cabin inside right here. And I wanted to tell you one story about that. We all worked full-time jobs in town, and then we worked full-time jobs on the homestead. And we invited my younger brother Ralph to come up and help us one of the summer months when he wasn't in school. And so he came up and worked with us on the homestead. He slept in the cabin. Looked a lot like that picture. And wondered why we found this bear cub. And this cub was about halfway between Comet and Oreo in size, so he was about this tall. And we thought, what are we going to do with him? But Ralph was still asleep in the cabin. And we thought, why don't we throw the bear in the cabin and just see what happens.
What?
And so the door had fallen off the cabin, and we just had an army blanket up there for a door. And so somebody held the door back. We threw this bear cub in the cabin and just waited. And in a few minutes, we heard some rustling around in there, and the blanket flew open. And Ralph came sailing out of there, and he's running tiptoe because of the sharp pine needles and stuff, and he's putting on his leather gloves, and he's in his shorts only, is all he's wearing. He says, "There's a bar in there." And it really scared him when he woke up, and there's a bear looking at him out of his... this one here, when I was a little kid, I knew that sound echoed and sound vibrations were there, and so I figured that if you're speeding along in a car, you could shout out a message, and somebody else would come along and hear the message. Later on, it would kind of linger in the air. So I would holler out, "Hello there, neighbor, how are you?" And I would go and I'd wonder who would ever hear that greeting, you know. Evidently it didn't work out too good.
Never heard from anyone.
No.
So good
Friendly
neighbors.
lad.
And this photo at the bottom is the Idaho Falls Temple. Your grandma and I decided to get married, and we wanted to get married in her hometown, and so we made our plans and got the announcements out, and she went outside, that means the lower 48, a week or two early to get the cake ordered and get her dress bought and everything, and then I was going to work right up until a day or two before the wedding, and then I would come out. So by the time she went out and got her part done, and I came out and got into Seattle and was going to change planes, and I went up to the United's counter, and they said, "I'm sorry, but all of our personnel went on strike this morning." So here I was in Seattle with the wedding the following day in Idaho Falls, and I didn't know what to do. So we talked to the people, and they finally got me a plane out of Boeing Field. So they transferred me down from SeaTac down to Boeing Field. I was able to fly on a DC-3, which is an old puddle jumper, and a couple of stewardesses on there, and I was the only passenger from Seattle to Idaho Falls. So we had a nice dinner that night, got up the next morning, we all rushed to the temple, and we got in there and they said, "Where's your marriage license?" And I said, "Oh no, I left it back at the house." So we asked Joan's brother if he'd run back to the house and get our marriage license. But another interesting thing that you might know, when we went to get our marriage license, they said, "I'm sorry, but we cannot, you have to give blood samples and kind of have a little health report." And they said, "We can't accept this medical records because Alaska is not yet a state. It's a territory only. So you're going to have to go get some more blood samples, and it'll take a day to get it processed." And I said, "Well, we're getting married tomorrow morning." So we talked, and after a while, we finally got them to accept.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. We just.
No, we called the doctor that had been my doctor growing up,
Oh, okay.
and he signed a form for us, and then he sent us to the lab with a note from him saying, "Accept these medical tests." And they gave us one on our blood test, and we made it back to get our license at 5 minutes to 5.
And they closed at 5.
They closed at 5, and the lady said it's too late, it takes longer than that. That's when he did his fancy talking.
That's a Norman Rockwell painting, standing at the marriage license in 5 to 5, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, and then we went and had a wonderful temple wedding and a nice reception that night. Had a good time. And then we'd agreed for a friend in the military up there was going to let us drive their practically new car up the Alaskan highway for our honeymoon. So we picked up a 1958 Chevy, robin egg blue, 2-door hardtop. No, it was a 4-door. And we went sailing up the highway, free as a bird, having a good time. This is in November, of course.
Sideways.
First of December.
Oh, yay!
But it was quite an adventure. And the rest is history. Here you are.
Quite an adventure since.
70 years later.
How old are you?
70.
But we've had a lot of experiences, a lot of fun things, but when you get to be my age, you look back on life, and most important thing is family, your wife and your family. So it's always good to have friends, hobbies, avocations, careers, but all of that pales. It pales in importance
Dynamite.
to wife and family.
Did Diamond Knight count?